This is Eric from Pack Hacker, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Air Sling 3 Max, which I've been testing for the past 2 weeks. Let's dive in. So starting with the exterior of this pack, we have 1680D Cordura ballistic nylon. You knew it was coming, we all knew it was coming, and Air has once again used the 1680D Cordura ballistic nylon. This time around, it is Blue Sign approved, which means it is sustainably sourced, which is a great shout from us. It's nice to know our favorite products are coming from sustainable means. But overall, you can see this thing is pretty bulky. It's basically a larger version of the Sling 3, which has also just come out, and I believe Tom has reviewed that, so you can check that out. There'll also be a comparison video between the two, so you can check out the differences between the two if you'd like. So we're just going to be focusing on this pack, but if you want to see more about the two side by side, check that out. But this thing is pretty hefty. It's, like I said, very similar to the Sling 3, just bigger. Like all of the things you'll see on the Sling 3 are on this pack, just larger, and everything you'll see here is on the Sling 3, just smaller. But very big and beefy. You kind of get the side angles there. It has a lot of surface area compared to my hand here. But looking at the hardware here, we've got YKK zippers all throughout, which is a great shout from us. We love seeing YKK zippers. This front zipper here has an aqua guard. It is a number 10 zipper here on this front pocket. It's got these two little tabs that you can hold on to make opening and closing it easier, because it is, you know, YKK number 10 can be kind of hard to open and close. And also the aqua guard makes it a little slower too. So having these tabs for quick opening and closing is nice. And even when this thing is fully packed out like it is right now, I've got a ton of stuff in here, it's still pretty easy to open. Something that was interesting to me is that the main compartment zipper here is actually a YKK number 8. So the YKK number 8 on the top for the main compartment, which is a larger opening. And then we've got a YKK number 10 here on the front opening, which is, you know, not as much stuff, and you're probably not going to be going in and out of there so often. It's kind of their trademark, the YKK number 10 aqua guard, to run across the front of their bags and slings. But it just was a little weird to me that you'd go with a bigger zipper with the aqua guard on the front when you have a smaller zipper up here. And if you're wearing it, the rain would be kind of like hitting here if it was getting wet, and not, I mean, it'd be kind of flowing over this part here. So just something interesting. I didn't have any issues with water getting inside this at all. It's just an interesting thing that I noticed. It does have one piece of Duraflex hardware that I was able to find, this adjuster on the strap here. Hard plastic quality from Duraflex, as we're used to. I'm not sure if you can pick up that, me hitting it there. But good quality, really, really easy to adjust, and, you know, quality like we've come to expect from Duraflex. The clasp on the strap is actually a fidlock. I'll give you a little closer look there. It is pretty big. You can see it in the palm of my hand there, but it's thin. So a lot of times with a big buckle, you also get, it's kind of thick this way and you can feel it, but it is thin in that regard, so you can't feel it so much, and it just comes off like that sideways. Tom did have an issue with, on I believe the Sling Max or Sling regular 3, that it came off on him twice. I did not have anything like that happen to me. It stayed sturdy and I didn't have any issues with it. And I do like the placement of it. So I'll put this on real quick. I liked wearing it on my front. I don't want to mess up the mic here. But when I wear it on my front, I like that this is right here. So I can take it off easily if I need to, or put it back on. And it's also not on my back, so if I had a big buckle on my back or even this thin fidlock on my back, I'd be able to feel it when I put my backpack on. So having the location here is nice. I will say I feel a little old-fashioned. I do prefer a buckle, but in this case, for how, you know, I wear it and just overall in use, I think the fidlock does make a little more sense, especially having it placed there. You can kind of slide it off and slide it back on easily. But if you're a fan of buckles and you don't really like fidlock, it's good to know that that's what the clasp is here. But we'll move into, actually, first off, we'll go onto this little loop right here. You see this on a few of their products. It's nice to be able to hang it up, like if you're, at your hotel or Airbnb, or even if you carry on a carabiner, like if you have a hangable carabiner, you could loop it on there and hook it up while you're eating dinner next to your table or whatever, so you have quick access to it, but not out of your range of sight. So that is nice. I grabbed it by this once. It was sitting down and the fidlock was undone. I hadn't hooked it up, and when I grabbed it, I kind of like whipped it, and it almost hit someone in the face with the fidlock. So be careful with that, because this is pretty long, especially depending how you wear it or your body size. This strap can be pretty long, and if you're not paying attention, this could get caught on something, or like I said, almost hit somebody. So not a good look to do that, but it is nice to have this little hook to grab it and go quickly. There's also a handle here on the top, this is the same handle as the new flight pack has on it. It's nice and durable, but also it has a little bit of push to it. Like it's got almost feels like there's like a little foam in there. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's the same. It feels like the same material as this strap, but it's a little softer, and it's got some push to it, a little bit of foam in there. It's pretty comfortable, and it's nice to have that option, especially for something that is this big. Coming in at 6 liters, you can stow a lot of gear in here, and it can get heavy pretty quickly. So having the option, if you're going through customs or something like that, to just be able to grab onto this and not have to wear it, or if you're going through the TSA line and just want to shove it through quickly and not have to take it off and slow down the line, it's nice to have that. And it is kind of thin, so after a while, it can put a little bit of pressure wherever you're holding it, but you can just shift it and adjust it easily. But overall, very happy with how comfortable that is for how thin it is. So moving on to the back panel here, we have this little pocket here. It's like a little hidden pocket, because no matter how you're wearing it, unless you're holding it, this pocket is against your body. So that way, if you put like your passport or something in it, it'd be really hard for someone to even know it's there, or to get to it if they did know it was there. So this pocket is just a flat pocket. There's not much depth to it, but it's a good size for a passport. Your phone could also fit in there. But it is important to note there really isn't any padding here. Like it's just the Cordura and then the liner. So there's no padding there. So whatever you put there, if you put something a little bit more rigid, you're going to feel it on your body. Like even a phone with a case, like I have an iPhone 11 with a case on it, and I put it in there, I could feel it a little bit. It wasn't uncomfortable, but you could definitely feel it. But it's nice to have that security, especially if you're in a busy city you haven't been to before. It's nice to be able to stow things inside there. But overall, there isn't much padding there at all. Like in between the pocket here we were just talking about and the inside, there is a bit of padding. See if I can illustrate that. There's a little bit of padding, like I can feel it between my 2 fingers, but it's not much. So if you have something more rigid in here, like if you were to put a camera or something in there and it was just not quite sitting right, it could poke out a little bit and be uncomfortable. It didn't happen to me. It is a pretty flat back for the most part, at least how I packed it. But you could, in theory, have something kind of poking into your back or your front while you're wearing it, which would not be cool. So we'll move forward now and look at this front pocket I was talking about earlier. So right now, this is very packed out. I've got a lot of stuff in here. We'll get to the main compartment so you can see that. But the front pocket here, when it's really packed out, because of these tabs, like I said, you can open it very easily, but it's hard to get stuff in and out of here, and you can't stow as much stuff in here. Like right now, I have my phone in there. And it's really, it's not terribly hard, but if you had something larger, or if you did have this more packed out, because as you'll see, I could probably fit more in the main compartment, it's just a little bit awkward. I think you can kind of see the bulge, probably from the top down, of like my phone, like sticking out there. There is a little bit of spare fabric, but it can be a little tricky to get things in and out, especially if you have more stuff in there. Like if I were to have something else on top of my phone or to the side here, it would be difficult to get, like it's even hard to get my hand in there to grab. But getting my phone in and out isn't the most difficult thing in the world right now, but there were cases when I was using it and I had this a little more packed out, and it was pretty hard to get things in and out. So I'll take my phone out for now just to avoid that problem. And then we'll move on to the main compartment. So we'll open up the YKK zipper. And as you can see, like I said, I've got a lot of stuff in there right now. This is a very big sling at 6 liters. I think that in most use cases, it's good for people who don't necessarily like bringing small versions of things. Like I'm not a big earbud person. I like having my over-ear headphones, which I keep in this little case. So in a smaller sling, I might not be able to bring these, but because this sling is so large and it has such a large main compartment, I can fit these inside here. I've also got my Instax Mini, which I like taking with me on trips, and my Fuji X-T3 with a lens on it. So that's all I had in there right now, apart from my Nintendo Switch, which is in the little liner pocket. I'll get to that in a minute. But there was a bit of room. I'll slide that stuff back in there for now so you can see. But there's a lot of like gaps in the, or like I want to say cracks between my gear right now where I could fit other things. Like there's a lot of room right here. And there's like some room here where when I close it, there's a little bit of room there. So there is room that I'm not utilizing right now because I have larger objects with a little bit of space in between. So you really can fit a lot of gear in here. We took a trip up Lake Huron this weekend, and I typically had this camera with this lens. I also had a telephoto lens, which was pretty big, that would kind of sit right here. The camera went right here, and then I'd stack whatever else I needed for the day on top, and there typically was a little bit of room on top of that still yet too. So one thing I will note is it is pretty tall. Like compared to the camera here, you can see how tall this is. And sometimes it felt like, especially when I had, nice camera gear in there along the bottom, I didn't really want to put anything on top of it, so it felt like there was a lot of wasted space. So the camera would come up to, about right here, and then all of this space here felt kind of wasted because I didn't want to put anything on top of the camera, and I also didn't want to put anything under the camera because most things that I carry with me aren't necessarily flat, objects that it would sit perfectly on, and I didn't want it to, jostle about. So it feels sometimes like there's wasted space, but if you do bring a lot of gear or you can fill the space, it's not so much of an issue. But as you can see, this is a lot of room. But moving on to the pockets we have inside here, this is going to be the same as the Sling 3, the smaller version. We have two, almost just pop this out here so you can get a better look. We've got these two elastic pockets here, which the elastic snaps back nicely, but these are pretty big pockets. Something I will say about the pockets in this pack overall is that they're all pretty big. Like if you were looking for a smaller pocket to put smaller items, it doesn't really exist. Even the smallest pockets, which are these elastic pockets, are pretty large. And if you put a few things in there, you might be swimming to find, like if you have AirPods or something like that that are just loose, or even like if you have a couple cords, it can be kind of hard to find them. So there really isn't a small pocket, which isn't a huge deal, but it's important to note that you need to be organized with where your things are. But these, the elastic is really nice on these. It snaps back nice and easily, and you are able to fit, a number of cords in there or whatever you might want to. We've got a YKK zip here, and this goes all the way down to the bottom of the pack. So this is good for items that you want to, get away from the huge area of the main compartment. And like I said, this elastic is pretty tight, but things could come out. If you put them in the zipper, they're not coming out, and it's going to stay there. So this is better for flat items because this liner doesn't have any give. So flat items do better in here. It does come out a fair amount. Like I think you probably be able to fit this in here with ease. Yep, no problem at all with the Instax Mini. That doesn't have a terrible amount of depth, but it is kind of wide. So you can fit fairly good sized items in there. And then behind that, we've just got a liner pocket, which is where I had my cased Nintendo Switch. It is kind of a tight squeeze when you have a case on it, but once it's in there, it sits inside there nicely. And without the case, it doesn't move around too much, but it does have a little bit more room than with the case. You can also fit, I believe it says up to an 11-inch tablet. We don't have an 11-inch. I think this is a standard 9-inch, but up to an 11-inch is supposed to fit inside of here, and this fits in here nice even with the case. So most slings, you're not going to have the option to bring such a big tablet. But if you do most of your work on a tablet, or you can, do most of your work while traveling on a tablet, it is a nice addition to be able to not have to bring a day pack or a backpack that has a laptop sleeve. You can just throw your tablet in this sling and you're ready to go. Pull that out. But like I think I've said, way too many times in this review, there is just so much room in this pack. Like even with a mirrorless camera, a telephoto lens. I had a little mini tripod in there at one point as well. Like, I still had extra room. Like, you're not gonna run out of room with this unless you're trying to bring big stuff or you're trying to overpack. It can feel a little wasteful at times, but overall, having more space is better than not having enough. But if you have a smaller body type or if you're going on long walks, it could get heavy with that much gear, but it all depends what you're doing with it, what you want out of it, and just how you like to carry stuff. I wanted to compare it with another sling that I've been a big fan of recently. I tested this a few weeks ago. This is the Bellroy Light Sling, which is actually 7 liters compared to the 6 liters, put them side by side there, the 6 liters of the Daysling 3 Max. So this is 1 liter more than this. If you show this, the width there, I mean, obviously these are both empty right now, but this is significantly smaller than the Air Sling is. You can even, we were making the joke that if you want a sling for your sling, just throw the Bellroy Light Sling in there and it fits perfectly. And you would even have room to spare. But just to show, you know, we really like the 1680D Cordura. It's very durable, it's water resistant, and it's going to keep your gear safe. But sometimes you don't need something that is that protective, so you can opt for something like the Bellroy, which is, you know, you can roll this up and have it in your hand easily compared to the Daysling 3 Max. You can't, it's weird doing like literage for slings. Like, I really do think I was able to fit more, like in my tests with the Air Sling 3 Max, the Air Daysling 3 Max, sorry, than I was able to fit inside the Bellroy Light Sling. But at the end of the day, this one does have more liters, and it depends what kind of gear you're bringing. For bigger items, you might be better off with the Air. For smaller items, you might be better off with something like the Bellroy. Another thing I wanted to mention too is that I don't think most people are going to be carrying a camera inside this. You might be better off with Peak Design or something like that. But having this wide open space is a positive for traveling sometimes, because you never know what you're going to need to throw in there. And it's good to have the space if you need it. And I think it looks good. Like right now it's empty, and I don't think it looks particularly bad empty, whereas some slings and bags don't look great empty. The Cordura kind of holds its form pretty well. So you can walk around with it kind of empty until, you know, maybe you buy something or you're gonna grab a couple snacks or something like that. You can fill this thing up and it still looks good and it is still capable. But there you have it, the Air Daysling 3 Max. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We'll see you in the next one.